Welcome to the What a Play podcast. I'm your host, Jacob. Lucas cannot be here this week because he has prior commitments. So once again, have Lucas send in his thoughts about what he thought about the Patriot game between the Patriots and the New Orleans Saints. And I've said this before. The way they showcased the Patriots did against the Bills, I was a little concerned that they have a trap game because they came off such a great success. It has to go down at some point. And I was concerned about the Saints. I was like, the Saints are pretty good. They look better against the Giants. But the Patriots dominated. They really did. Lucas, when I was asking him about this, he said Drake played really well. He would have had 400 yards if they didn't have those weird penalty calls. That 2 pass interferences on Stephon Diggs that they're not really push-offs. And I think the NFL really has to figure out what we're calling a push-off now. Because is it pushing or we're trying to give it because the entire game is offense oriented. Okay, I get that. But there should be some rules that we're gonna be like, okay, if they are both grabbing at each other, the rule states if they're both grabbing at each other, we should let the play just go out and go through and then see what happens. There is that. I get that. But if you're gonna have plays like this, if the defender's looking for the ball when he's doing it, are we still calling it a pass interference? I know in this case Diggs is kind of pushing the corner who's looking at the ball. I get that. But there's gotta be a little way we can make it for the receiver. Because in that situation, that receiver's gonna do that all the time. He's taught to make that position and making an easier catch for himself. So he's taught to do that. At what point do you go and say, yeah, the rule just stinks. It's not a good rule. Like to me, the rule has to be if the defender is looking for the ball, because does this push shove him to the ground? The answer is no. But it kind of like pushes him a little more out of the way. So the first one, I'll give you that one. But the second one, that one, I'm like, I don't know if that's a penalty, really. The first one was more of a penalty than the second, in my opinion. Like Lucas said, the defense did not play well in the first half. Their team, I think, it's going to take a little bit to get going. The consistency's not quite there yet, but they're getting there. They're on the track. They're not quite there yet. Let's see what happens. But then they lock down in the second half. So again, the consistency's not quite there, but it's getting there. So that's a positive. That's a good thing. When talking about the star of the game, he gave it to Mario Douglas, he's the kick returner, he's the third wide receiver. He is explosive. The guy who's nicknamed Pop. Like he makes these plays, and you have to give him the credit he absolutely deserves. And that's how Lucas described it. He said, Pop Douglas is my player of the game. I would honestly give it to Drake May. I thought Drake May was playing great. When your young quarterback is not turning the ball over, he has confidence in the system. He has the ability, and you can see him progressing in front of your eyes every week. There's something he's doing better. That's a positive thing. That's a great thing. That's why I'd have Drake May be my player of the game. But Pop Douglas is a great choice as well. I think what concerned me more about this Patriots team, and they proved me wrong, was the fact that this was a trap game. This could happen. Now I've seen that, okay, they are aggressive. The defense did not play great, but it got better. You got to lock it down in the second half in every game, always. So keep that mentality. Try to do it for an entire game, but if you can't, make sure it's locked down in the second half, because that's when games get out of hand. So great job by the Patriots in winning that game. The next game they have is the Tennessee Titans. The Titans fired their head coach. This is a Mike Vrabel revenge game. Coach Brian Callahan, who was fired on Monday via press release, which is never a good sign. When you're fired via press release, that tends to tell you like we're just getting rid of you at this point. We're done. Which the guy was 4-19 as a coach. He was not a good coach. 3 wins last year was a miracle. It was an unbelievable miracle that they won 3 games. They were so bad offensively, which is what Brian Callahan was great at, and defensively. You can't be bad at both, but defensively they were a lot better. At one point, they did have the #1 ranked defense. Their offense was just abysmal. And then you have the weird slash crazy slash we're in the Halloween season, so spooky kind of game between the Titans and Cardinals, where we saw that interception, fumble. It was like the holy roller on steroids. Instead of it just being pushed forward or thrown forward on a hand, it was intercepted, fumbled, kicked, recovered in the end zone, touchdown Titans. That's what it was like. And it was over and over and over again. It was play after play after play. You could not make this up. You really couldn't make it up. It was just remarkable. And then they get crushed by the Raiders. Not that the score told you that, but the Raiders aren't the best team in the world. And yet somehow the Raiders beat you. And they beat you pretty handily. They just destroyed how you play. And that's something that needs to be talked about. And that's why Brian Callahan was fired. Now the interim coordinator or the interim head coach, I guess I should be saying, is Mike McCoy, who's not the play caller, by the way. Mike McCoy is not the play caller. Bo Hardeggy is. They named Mike McCoy the play caller or the head coach because he has head coaching experience. The guy has head coaching experience. He's not the best head coach in the world. He hasn't held that head coaching position in a very long time. He's the last time he was a head coach, you have to go back to the San Diego Chargers. So this guy, as a coach, is not the best coach. You have to go past Anthony Lynn before you start finding the Mike McCoy of the San Diego Chargers. That's how bad this got. This was not a good team. They're not a great team. They're not a positive force. So if I'm the Patriots, who I have winning this week, this is the game that you got to get perfect. And I'm not saying you need to have the best game of your career, but you do have to have the best showing. And I think they do. I think the offense hits. I think your defense hits. And it's going to be a great showing. 28-7 is my final. And I have the Patriots winning in the Mike Vrabel revenge game. I know he's going to pour it off. I would do the same thing. If it's my job and I got fired for it, which should I've been fired? Maybe, but you've fired like I think it's been 10 people in the last 5 years, so it's not a great situation at all. And yeah, I'd pour it on too as a revenge. Like I'm pouring it off. I just don't see how this Titans team is going to do anything. Because you fired Brian Callahan just to give Cam Ward a chance to prove something, because without him getting killed, but who knows if anything's going to come out. And maybe he will play mid, but maybe he won't. We'll have to wait and see on that. Next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys. This game against the Panthers was brutal. Best way I can describe what the Cowboys do. Have you ever seen those old TV shows, those old cartoons of somebody who gets so flustered, like smoke is blowing out of their ears, and they start scratching out their eyes because they can't unsee it, so they're just trying to scratch them out. Like, that's what it feels like when you watch this Cowboys defense. It is embarrassing. They are statistically not just not just not statistically impressive. They are statistically the worst defense in the NFL and the worst defense in quite some time. And if I remember correctly, the worst defense in Cowboys history. They are historically bad. Put them up from against the 2020 defense, which a lot of people feel the Cowboys, that was the worst defense entirely. You put them up against that, and they're statistically worse in every category except like one, and it's not much better. It's like a little better in terms of the yardage, but the statistics look worse, if that makes sense. Like, the best way I can explain it is this: the number is pretty much the exact same in terms of what they're giving up in the game, but how that is getting scheduled statistically, how that's listed statistically, is worse. They are not good. They are really bad. They're straight. They can't get pressure. They don't blitz. They don't try to blitz. They run zone coverage. They ran zone coverage against Bryce Young 80% of the time, 85% of the time. They got cooked for it because they miss assignments. They don't run man coverage. They're getting beat on man coverage. The last play on the 4th and 3, that's not a Devon Bland problem. That's a schematic problem. So at first I was like, is this a Devon Bland? Did he just not push it? Did he not press? What did he not do? And how it looks is the slot corner on the right tackle side. So this would be the left end side. The left slot corner. He's pressed. The up tight corner on the Trayvon Diggs. He's up there. He's pressed. The corner on the right tackle side, the far right tackle side, which would be the far right end side, and the right end slot corner on the top of the screen, they're pushed off. They're off by 4 or 5 yards. And the idea is you're trying to force a read, the slant, the ball. You're trying to look like you're going to show pressure, so Bryce Young would throw the ball immediately. That's the idea. And they're trying to force the slant. The problem is how they were going to try to cover the slant up. The idea was the linebacker, Kenneth Murray, he's lined up on one side of the center. He has to cover 2 routes, the flat route and the back slant. Number one, no linebacker is fast enough to do that consistently. You actually have to be a former corner or something like that because you're just not going to be fast enough. And Kenneth Murray is not fast enough. Also, it's an impossible thing because he's either going to look to the flat or he's going to have to jump to. Because he looks to the flat and not jump the slant right away, He gives up the slam. That's an impossible situation for Kenneth Murray to be in because he's got two things he has to do. When if they had fronted up Deron Bland, maybe the receiver still would have won the route, still would have been able to get open, but Kenneth Murray would have been able to get over that more because you would expect Deron Bland to fight the receiver a little bit, making it so the receiver can't get off right away, therefore the timing's off. So Kenneth Murray could have gotten them. It's what you expected. But they didn't. It was also a 4th and 3. Why is those corners so far off? It's a schematic problem. But it's also a personnel problem because I don't think they have the personnel to fit this defense. And every coach in the world from the time I was born has said this. We have to run a scheme that fits our players that we have. Every time they say this. Every time they say this. It's never true. I've never seen a team run a scheme the way it fits their personnel defensively. Never. 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 It just doesn't happen. They always look for players that fit their scheme and then they just try to run their running this much zone in Chicago and in Indianapolis. Let me know in the comments if he actually did. And I would love to know those percentages, by the way, of how much zone did he run per game when he was the head coach of the Bears or when he was the defense coordinator of the Colts. I would love to know that in the comments, please. I'm curious. I think he's running more zone than he's ever had. And maybe that's because of the team he's got. I don't know. But it's not working. And I've said it before. What's your concern if you run man? You get beat, you get long touchdowns against you. You're already doing that already, and it's in zone coverage. So it is not much worse they can get. At least give you guys a chance. And plus, if Trayvon Diggs is saying we need to run more man coverage, and that's him saying it publicly, guarantee you he said it privately. Guarantee you there's other players that are saying it privately. He was just one that said it publicly. That's the truth. Now, moving on, because you have your division has not been great so far, so you have an opportunity to get back into this thing. This is what you have to do. Philadelphia plays Minnesota. You've gone 0-1-1 in that division, so just try to keep it around that. Maybe something happens. Philadelphia has not played ideal in the last 14 days. So maybe you have a chance there. You played the Commanders, who played the Bears, and they did not play great against the Bears. They turned the ball over 3 times after having only 3 turnovers all year. They were terrible on defense down the stretch in that game. And the Bears go walk down the field and kick the game-winning field goal. Which the Bears made it harder on themselves because they were up 13-0 and then decided to weirdly go for it on a 4th down after only being up by about less than 2 scores, and they still decided to go for it and not get it, and then it stirred just a chain of events that put the Commanders back in the game and eventually winning the game at certain points of the game, almost winning it entirely. So if you're the Cowboys, you know defensively it's going to be tough. You're also only underdogs by 1.5, which is kind of insane to think about. With all that being said, your defense has to show up. Your offense has to show up because you're getting a lot of these players back that you need. Jack Sanborn, who missed last week with a concussion, he's back. CeeDee Lamb, who's been out with an ankle, he should be back. Tyler Booker, the young rookie offensive guard, he should be back from his ankle. So you're getting some of these guys back. You need them because your offensive line did not do a good job against the Carolina Panthers. You need to get this run game going. Because Washington's not the best against the run. You can run the football. You can run it. Just figure out how to do so. With all that being said, like, again, going back to how the Cowboys played against Carolina, where they couldn't run the ball, Dak still was completing 70% of his passes. George Pickens had over 150 yards receiving. Dak Prescott had 3 touchdowns. They were doing things that they needed to do. Go win the game. Go win the game. Period. Just go find a way to win. Get back in this division somehow. You're going to need some help, but get back in this division. Go beat the Commanders at 425, and you're back in it. But you have to go win. I have the Cowboys winning this game because, for whatever reason, I just see Dak winning this because he's really good against the NFC East for no reason. I don't know why he's been so good, but he's been really good. I have the Cowboys winning this game 28-20, but it's going to be a bizarro kind of game. But this defense needs to make some plays in this game. They have to force turnovers. They have to get pressure on Jaden Daniels. They have to stop Bill Crosby Merritt from running the ball. They have to stop Jaden Daniels from running the ball. And they can't let Jaden Daniels throw it all over the yard. Do those things, and you can win this game. I have the score being 28-20, like I said before. I have the Cowboys winning, getting back to 500 at 3-3-1. Get there, go win, and get into week 8 against the Denver Broncos, and hopefully somehow you can manage that game as well. For NFL World and the What to Play podcast, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.